Hi, I'm Raylene, and welcome to Khaleesi Clues. In this video, I will be discussing all of the hidden clues that I found in Episode 3 for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms titled The Squire. Although the episodes for this series are quite short, they really are packed with a lot of symbolism and clues. This is not an episode breakdown video where I summarize the events that happened during the show. This video is all about possible future predictions, theories, and hidden clues found within the events of the episode for the characters Sir Duncan the Tall and his squire, Egg. So here is your spoiler alert. If you haven't already watched episode 3 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or if you do not want to hear about possible theories that may or may not come true in the future storylines, then you may not want to watch this video. So let's get started. Clue number 1. Right off the bat, let's break down the title of the episode, which is called The Squire. Seems simple enough, right? Obviously, the title lets us know that this episode is going to be about Egg, who is Sir Duncan the Tall's squire. Well, that was pretty easy, right? Wrong. Wrong. Nothing is ever easy when you are looking for hidden clues, especially when you are looking for clues in a story like this, that the creator, who happens to be a mastermind at wordplay. To make a long story short, the word squire has a very interesting definition and possible clue. The most common definition that comes to mind when you think of a squire is a young man who attends a knight. The more interesting definition came from Green's Dictionary of Slang, in which squire is defined as a fool, and also one who is foolish enough to serve another. And who did we hear being referred to as a fool in the previous episode? Sir Duncan the Tall. The title of this episode, The Squire, may descriptively refer to Egg, but cryptically, I believe it refers to Sir Duncan the Tall. Clue number 2. The episode begins with Dunk and Egg sleeping by the campfire. Egg is already awake and makes the funny sound of a horse. For those of you who may be familiar with the game chess, one of the board pieces that is depicted as a horse head is actually called a knight. This funny horse sound, and the horse being a symbol in chess of a knight, ties in with Egg asking Dunk in the previous episode, "Do you think I will ever make a knight one day?" And the answer is probably yes, in more ways than one. Egg will most likely be the person who actually knights Sir Duncan the Tall in the future. And as I have said in my previous video titled Cold Hand's True Identity, he will eventually become the Night King. And just a special note, since we are talking about the Night King, which I've said this in my past videos, I still do not believe that the Night King is the enemy of mankind in this story. He is an enemy of the children of the forest, and he is an enemy of the great other side of this war, which is referred to as the dead, but I do not believe he is the enemy for the side of the living. I could go on a full-on rant about the Night King, but that would take another video. Moving on, clue number 3. This is a rather quick Night King symbolism clue. After Egg gets up, it shows him sneaking off with Thunder and Dunk's sword. But it's what he does to Thunder that is the clue. He grabs the reins of Thunder as if he is now in control and places his hand upon the snout of Thunder, which is very similar to the actions taken by the Night King to the dead dragon Viserion. He places his hand upon the snout of Viserion, resurrects, and takes control of him. Clue number 4. This is another small Night King symbolism clue. While Egg is practicing his duties as a squire, it shows him with his arms stretched out straight while cheering Thunder on. This is very similar to the same pose that the Night King did while resurrecting the army of the dead. It may just be me with my wild imagination, but that shrubbery and fell tree looks like a dead green dragon with black blood pooled around the mouth and a spear protruding from its head area. And just in case I haven't mentioned it before in any of my previous videos, summer is a green dragon that I believe is coming in the future storyline. And yes, that theory stems from Brandon Stark waking from his comatose state after his fall and names his direwolf Summer. What Bran saw during his fall when he passes the wall far north and passes the wall of light is what is on the other side of their world. What he sees scares him so bad, and that is what is still coming. We have a huge dance with dragons still coming. We have Winter, the white, and also known as Stone Dragon, that will be Jon Snow's dragon. And we have Summer, the green dragon, or possibly a wyvern hybrid mix. But again, that is for another video. Clue number 5. Enter Sir Robin Riesling. This is going to be a difficult one. The one-eyed knight comes walking up barefoot behind Egg. He is very much a symbol of Odin and also the weirwood tree. His hair looks as if it has a reddish tint, which reminds me of the red leaves of the weirwood tree. Right below that, we have his white-gray beard, which is like the color of the bark on a weirwood tree. He is also dressed in all black, which reminds me of the underworld, followed by his bare feet, which is symbolism for the white roots of the weirwood tree. The black and white colors also represent a number of things, such as the colors of the moon, the underworld, death, an eclipse, or even a dark star. In contrast, Egg, with his bald head, represents an actual egg, which is like life and fertility, but it can also be a moon reference. Egg is also dressed in what looks like a gold-colored outfit, which represents the sun, fire, light, warmth, and life. I also like to think of this particular scene as a standoff between the two gods, with Egg symbolizing the Egyptian sun god Ra, or R'hllor for this story, and Sir Robin symbolizing the Norse god Odin, or the Great Other. Now, as for the horse Thunder, I see him symbolizing a throne. This comes from Khal Drogo's comment to Khaleesi when she is talking to him about taking the Iron Throne, in which he responds with, "A king does not need a chair to sit upon, he only needs a horse." The horse being the Khal's symbolic throne. The first line that Sir Robin says to Egg is, "You steal that horse?" Which to me is like saying, "You stole that throne?" It's as if we are seeing two symbolic gods talking about a throne, in which case one symbolic god, the R'hllor figure, is in possession of the throne, and the other symbolic god, the Great Other figure, is questioning or even accusing the other of stealing the throne. As Sir Robin approaches, Egg carefully retreats behind a makeshift barrier or symbolic wall-type structure, which looks like a fell tree, which also reminds me of the future Night King, Egg, being held back by the wall. Then we hear the lines, "Tell the truth, will be fair." I think that's a lie. And Egg answers, "It's not stealing if you mean to put it back." Now that line, I think it refers to an event that has taken place during this never-ending war that has been taking place between these two gods. This is possibly referring to an event that may reveal how a particular bloodline became entrusted with the power of becoming a dragon rider. My theory is that it originally belonged to the Stark bloodline, and that over the many years of war, it has been passed on to the Targaryen bloodline, maybe even forgotten over time, but will eventually be returned to the Starks through the birth of Jon Snow. But I would probably need to discuss that in another video. Getting back to the scene, right after Sir Robin questions Egg about this possible stolen horse, what do we see him do? He literally tries to take the reins of the horse. It's like he is trying to take the reins of a throne or steal a throne, but it's all being done on screen in symbolism. Thunder is having absolutely none of that and immediately gets agitated, like, "Not today, Satan." Egg gains confidence with Thunder's reaction, and now it's Sir Robin's turn to retreat as Egg moves forward, emerging past the makeshift wall, taking the reins of Thunder, and once again places his hand on the snout, showing possession and Thunder's approval of Egg. Then we get the funny little tit-for-tat lines between the two. Sir Robin asks, "What's wrong with your hair?" Now, this is obviously him questioning why Egg is bald, but it's also a play on the word hair and the word air. Sir Robin, as this figurative great other symbol, is taking a poke at Egg, who is the figurative R'hllor symbol, and his question is actually making fun of the Targaryen bloodline. What's wrong with your heir? Well, there's a lot wrong with them, as the show has pointed out to us. The few that we have seen so far, Daeron is a drunk, Aerion is disgustingly cruel, and according to Raymond Fossaway, Aemon is considered to be useless, and then there is Egg, who people call puny. Although they are not in the direct line for the throne, this line by Sir Robin is a direct insult to Egg and the Targaryen bloodline. But wait, there is still more symbolism. The Targaryens are the chosen heirs to the Iron Throne. A dragon rider's throne is their dragon, and the Iron Throne that Aegon the Conqueror had constructed is like a monument to his dragon, Balerion. Dragons are described as fire made flesh, with an extremely high iron content in their bones and blood, and they are symbolic iron thrones. Again, it's very similar to the Dothraki belief of the horse being a cowl's throne. Now, back to the scene, we have Egg, who is figuratively a R'hllor symbol and is feeling full of confidence with Thunder, who is a figurative throne or dragon symbol by his side, and like a poke in the eye, torts back at Sir Robin, who is a figurative great other symbol, with the question, "What's wrong with your eye?" Which we can all see, just like Egg is missing his hair, Robin is missing his eye. Your eyes are used for vision or sight, but we are talking on a God's level, so it's like a God's eye view. And where do you get a God's eye view from? Flying high on the back of a dragon or sitting high upon a throne. And that's what the great other desires most. He wants that power of the dragons, and he wants that throne. We literally just watched him take a grab at Thunder. The scene ends with Robin, the symbolic great other, informing Egg, the symbolic R'hllor, "We are a vessel for the warrior. When it is madness bid, it is madness delivered. You are small for a squire." I take all of that as a threat and a warning to R'hllor. The forces of the great other are coming for all that R'hllor holds dear, mankind and life in general. There are no boundaries that they will stop at in order to win. Calling himself a vessel for the warrior is a clue for a couple of things. For one, a vessel is defined as a ship or large boat, which ties in with what I keep saying about the threat that lies on the other side of their world and the future attack that will be coming by sea. Secondly, Robin referring to himself as we and calling himself a vessel for the warrior is what I believe a very big clue to something that I have been trying to express in some of my past videos. It has to be something similar to what we see for Bran Stark as a warg entering Odor and his ability to then take control over Odor's body. Odor is the vessel, and Bran is the master of that vessel. It may have even been clued to in Season 6, Episode 8 of Game of Thrones during the Second Siege of Meereen. Missandei and Tyrion look out over the waters to see all of the ships coming in to attack. Missandei tells Tyrion, the masters have come for their property, which at that time she was referring to all of the slave-owning masters returning for the slaves that Daenerys had freed. But it's possible that it was also referring to future events to come. I think we are going to have a very dangerous form of wargs or shapeshifters coming in the future story. The Great Other is reminding R'hllor that mankind are just pawns in this war. They are easily corrupted and will be enslaved and used as his warriors. Clue number 6. When Egg arrives back at camp, Dunk is a little upset. Dunk tells Egg to quit jawing and get the brushes. Thunder looks like he's been dragged through a hedge. I think this line is symbolically referring to the previous scene between Egg and Sir Robin. Quit jawing, meaning don't bother talking with him or stay focused, don't be distracted by the chatter. Get the brushes, I think is literally like saying get or go after the brushes, meaning small trees or undergrowth, which could be a reference to the children of the forest, followed by the line, Thunder looks like he's been dragged through a hedge, which, as we saw, Thunder was dragged or raced up and down the track there by the hedges, but it's also a little dig as Sir Robin's ragged appearance. Thunder is an Odin Thor reference, which is the symbolism for the Great Other in that scene. So even though Dunk is giving Egg a bit of a scolding, it's almost like a hidden pep talk. It's as if Dunk is telling Egg, don't bother with that guy, don't let him discourage you. He calls you small, but look at him. He's looking a little ragged and rough there, missing an eye and all. Stay focused on the task. Target the children of the forest, which we do see in the Game of Thrones series that Egg, which is the future Night King, is fighting with the children of the forest. Clue number 7. Dunk is showing Egg how to sew. I think it's just symbolism for how their lives are bound or sewn together now. So super easy for that one. Clue number 8. We get the hilarious scene between the two while brushing Thunder. Egg looks up at Dunk and asks, is it odd that I have black hair growing out of my stones? And he answers, it's odd that you're telling me. Well, this is going to get into a small theory that I have that I'm not particularly fond of for Dunk and Egg, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. In the future, Egg, who has the traditional silver gold hair, marries Betha Blackwood, who has black eyes and hair. Together, they have 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. They name their first child Duncan. He is also referred to as Prince Duncan the Small, which is actually so cute because, of course, Egg's best friend is Sir Duncan the Tall. And we all just kind of assume that Egg must have named his firstborn in honor of his lifelong friend. But when George R.R. Martin was asked specifically if Egg named his son after his friend Duncan, George R.R. Martin responded with, that would be telling. Now, I'm assuming that this means it is for a future revelation in the books. To me, his silence speaks volumes because it could have easily been a, yes, of course he did type answer. So that led me to believe that Duncan the Tall may very well actually be the father of Prince Duncan the Small, which is so sad to think that this could happen and how this may affect Dunk and Egg's relationship in the future. It also led me to believe that it may be one of the reasons that Prince Duncan later renounces the throne, which they claim is supposedly for love, but maybe it was because he found out his true father is actually Sir Duncan the Tall. Maybe because of this, he felt the throne was not rightfully his to claim, and so stepped aside for his younger brother, Jaehaerys, to claim. So when this line came up in the show, it made me think that it could be a play on the word hair with the word heir. And just so you know, when I did a quick search on all of the kids, Prince Duncan is the only one who had black hair. Not that he couldn't have taken after his mother's traits, but the fact that he is the only one just adds a little bit of difference between him and his siblings. So maybe it is a little odd that Egg has a black-haired heir coming out of his stones. All eyes are on you, Sir Duncan, and just maybe you've got some explaining to do in the future. Clue number 9. Right after, we have Egg sitting up in the tree singing a funny song about the Targaryen princes and the bastard Daemon Blackfyre, the rebellion that was fought in a field with grass as green as summer. When I watched this scene, the hidden symbolism I see is Egg as the future Night King, the tree he is sitting in being a symbol of the weirwood tree and also a dragon, singing about the Blackfyres as a bastard reference, which ties in the children of the forest, and that requires a deeper explanation, but not in this video. The grass as green as summer is symbolism for the green dragon Summer that will be coming in the future story. I know I sound crazy, but these are the clues that I see when I watch these shows or read these books. It's just never ending to me. Clue number 10. Another funny scene, but this time Dunk is at the market trying to buy some eggs without getting the goose killed in the process. The hidden symbolism is that a goose is also called a waterfowl, which the word fowl can also be spelled as F-O-U-L, which can define as being corrupted, wicked, evil, or sinful. So with the goose in this scene, it is cluing to the water, which can be a sea reference, and of course, like I keep saying, the evil enemy that lies across the sea on the other side of their world. That's where the real danger and war waits and will be coming in the future books. Clue number 11. Just after the waterfowl clues, perfect timing for Tansel Too Tall to come into the picture. I still do not trust this character, and the clues are screaming Dunk's in danger to me. Dunk tries so hard to make small talk with her, and she seems completely uninterested in him as she walks past him. She only pauses briefly and keeps her answer completely professional by informing him that his shield would be ready that evening. Is this a setup? Because it feels like a setup to me. Anyways, she walks away without even a second glance. But did you catch the color of their clothes? Her clothing is a blue tint, like a seawater color, and his are green, like a freshwater color. And what do the Dothraki call salt water? They refer to the sea as the poison water and the black salt sea. So see, maybe my goose, also known as the waterfowl, actually is a foul water / danger from the sea clue after all. Clue number 12. After they share a good breakfast, they are resting on the hill, talking about their future dreams. Egg talks about having horses and raising cows. Dunk adds in, and lambs, which Egg wants absolutely nothing to do with any lambs. Did you know that sheep are also called prairie maggots or meadow maggots, which also now ties them into symbolizing the weirwood tree, whose white roots look like giant worms or snakes. I also talked about this same type of symbolism in the House of the Dragon scene when King Viserys was using maggots to help clean his infected hands. It all ties in with the children of the forest and the weirwood tree, and Egg expresses his opinion pretty bluntly to Dunk, how he feels about his sheep. Clue number 13. Plummer, the steward of House Ashford, comes to Dunk and asks if he would be willing to take part in a rigged joust with Lord Andro Ashford. I think Dunk is being tested, just the same as Damon was tested last season in House of the Dragon. Plummer is trying to convince him and tempts him by saying, "It's a tidy sum for a young hedge knight who presently calls an alder tree home." Dunk corrects him, calling it an elm tree. The tree is a symbol of the weirwood tree and is referring to Dunk's future fate of becoming Cold Hands. I did briefly look up both trees and found some interesting facts about both. The alder tree is also called the tree of death, with its wood being used to make shields. It is also considered to be a tree of war and death because the wood is white, but it quickly turns blood red when cut. Ironically, I also found reference of it being called a hero tree. This is due to its ability to enrich soil, allowing other plants to grow. The same can be said about the elm tree, with its links to the underworld, dead, and association with nymphs. In opposition, it is also called the survivor tree or council trees. Clue number 14. The Alice with Three Fingers sing-along scene was interesting. I'm probably going to sound a bit obsessed, but again, I think it was referring to the children of the forest, mostly because of the three-finger reference, because the children forest are known to only have 3 fingers and a thumb. Not to mention that Lionel is dancing and singing along with his antlers on, looking a lot like a Green Man figure, which ties right in with the weirwood tree connection. After the song ends, we have Dunk and Egg contemplating the true meaning of the song. Wait a minute. Why do I feel like I know exactly how these boys feel? The never-ending hunt for hidden clues and meanings to these songs and scenes. Maybe they should start their own YouTube channel and break it all down for us. Anyways, the two decide that the song is about hope and giving more than what is asked, the act of a dogged spirit. I ended up Googling the meaning of a dogged spirit for comparison, and this is what it said. A dogged spirit refers to an unwavering, persistent, and determined attitude that refuses to give up, even when facing significant difficulties, obstacles, or danger. It implies a tenacious and often stubborn dedication to achieving a goal similar to a hound that will not abandon its scent. Actually, I think this describes both sides of this never-ending war that is taking place between these two gods, R'hllor and the Great Other. One more thing that I forgot to add in to the clues was that during the song, it refers to a poke in the butt. And that also ties in with the word goose, because that is one of the definitions. A goose is a poke in the butt. So there's the waterfowl connection too. Clue number 15. After leaving the pavilion, Dunk and Egg are approached by a hooded fortune teller. I tried taking a close-up picture of her clothing, but haven't had a chance to really look at the design patterns. The colors look like they are a deep shade of plum and a forest green. The first thing I thought of was that it reminded me of seaweed colors. It also looks as if some of the patterns resemble fishnets. You can barely see the hidden birthmark on her face, which definitely makes me think that this could possibly be a glamoured blood raven. First, she tells Dunk his future and claims that he shall know great success and be richer than a Lannister. I have to agree with what others are saying that this is referring to Dunk's future success as a renowned knight with the many deeds written in the pages of the White Book. Also, the fact that Sir Duncan is considered to be a hero, a true knight in the stories that have been told, whereas Sir Jaime Lannister, although considered to be amazingly skilled and had such a promising beginning being knighted and entering the Kingsguard at such a young age, all of which is later overshadowed by his act of killing the very king he was sworn to protect, King Aerys Targaryen. So I have to agree, Duncan ends up richer than a Lannister. Next up is the fortune for Egg. Did anyone notice the attitude and facial expression shift in the fortune teller? Her tone even sounds a bit angry as she tells him, "You shall be king." Now, let me stop right here because she's right. He will eventually be king. He will later become King Aegon V of the Seven Kingdoms, but he will also later become the Night King. Remember, last episode, he was asking Dunk if he thought he would become a knight someday, and now this episode, he's being told he will be king. And this fate also ties in with the rest of his fortune. She continues with, "and die in a hot fire," which is definitely in his future with the fires at Summerhall, where it is said that he was not one of the survivors. She adds, "and worms shall feed upon your ashes." Just as I discussed earlier about the maggot and worm symbolism, this is referring to the children of the forest and the weirwood tree. I'm telling you, this is a huge clue as to what actually goes down there at Summerhall. This is an ambush that has taken place at Summerhall. It's a total victory for the great other side, where they have successfully killed many of the Targaryen family members, most likely stole either the dragon eggs that were present or possibly even successfully hatched baby dragons, along with capturing the current king, Aegon V. So even though they claim King Aegon dies in that fire, he really doesn't. But there is no way that they are going to let the public know any of that information, just like King Jaehaerys kept it quiet when Alyssa Farman steals the dragon eggs. There is no way that they are going to let the public know how weak their powers have diminished with the death of all the dragons. So much so that the enemy of mankind is able to swoop in and steal their crowned king along with the prized possession of dragon eggs, or worse, baby dragons. There is more to this that I can talk about in another video. Honestly, this show is bringing out all of my never-ending theories I have been holding back for future videos. Anyways, she finishes with this doozy. "And all who know you shall rejoice in your dying." Poor Egg, his little face of shock and dismay. This fortune is true, too, in a couple of ways. First off, all who knew him will rejoice in his supposed death at Summerhall. Not because they are happy that he died, but because there is also the birth and survival of Rhaegar that happens at the same time. His birth is like the silver lining to a horribly tragic event. But it is also the writers giving a little nod to the videos of fans reacting to the Game of Thrones series when Arya Stark came out of nowhere and drove the cat's paw dagger into the Night King in the final series. Yes, all of the fans screamed and shouted, high-fived each other, and all who knew him as the dreaded Night King rejoiced in his death. The question is, should they have? That's another video, but a subject I have already touched on in one of my previous videos about the Night King. Clue number 16. Duncan is in Raymond Fossaway's tent, and there is just a few lines that I wanted to address. When Dunk tells Raymond that he is considering challenging Sir Andrew, Raymond asks Dunk if he means to play the villain. This line concerns me because, like I mentioned before, Dunk eventually becomes Cold Hands. Although he has been portrayed so far as a hero in the Game of Thrones TV series, and I definitely want him to be a hero, I still keep an open mind to the possibility that he may have been enslaved to the great other side of this war. Because that is what the enemy does. It turns brothers against brothers, sisters against sisters. It creates chaos and uses mankind to destroy mankind. Unfortunately, some of our favorite characters will be lost to these evil forces and turned into monsters. The other line from the scene was just one that I thought was funny because Raymond goes off on a Targaryen tirade to Dunk about how horrible they are, calling them aliens and such, when in all reality, Dunk may very well be a Targaryen bastard from King's Landing as far as we know, but it's something that I suspect is true. Last clue. Clue number 17. Egg is at the puppet show where Tansel Tootal is now playing the part of the knight who slew a dragon in the story Serwyn of the Mirror Shield. Just for the record, I still absolutely do not trust Tansel Tootal and see her as a possible villain character who is there to distract Dunk or even alter his destiny. I think of it as one big giant game of chess for the gods. Of course, the Great Other loves to take possible heroes for the R'hllor side and change their fate by placing all of these obstacles in their path, forcing them to make decisions that may lead them down a different path. So when I'm watching this scene, I am picking apart things that I think hint towards this theory, such as the sound that the mummer's dragon is making, like hissing noises. Hissing is a sound that cats make, and cats remind me of the children of the forest with their cat-like eyes. The fact that the puppet dragon also has 4 legs, showing clues to be a wyvern, which I believe is also something that will be used to fight the dragons in the future Great War to come in the unreleased books. I have talked about this in past videos where I discussed the different Targaryen sigils with some having 4 or 2-legged dragons. The colors of the dragon are black and red, which definitely is a Targaryen symbol. The color of her armor, I couldn't tell if her legs are 1 red and 1 green, or if it was 1 red and 1 black. If it is red and black, it might symbolize the Targaryen killing a Targaryen, which is probably more likely with the events that are coming. Her stomach shield looks like the same type of background used in Dunk's shield that she painted for him. And here comes the setup. Prince Aerion just happens to arrive right when she drives the sword into the dragon. I believe this is all completely staged, and poor Duncan, being the true knight that he is, has no other choice other than to try and protect Tansel. I'm telling you, the similarities between Tansel Tootal and Duncan the Tall, when compared to Tyrion and Tysha, are unbelievable. Both men encounter a damsel in distress. Both men swoop in to save and protect them. Both couples have very similar names. Both are referred to as whores, and both basically disappear after leaving the men to wonder for the rest of their lives where they went. The sad part about it is that even though Aerion is a horrible and cruel character, and if Tansel is a pawn for the Great Other side, then what Aerion says is actually true. He calls her a traitor and says that the dragon ought never lose. He's right. The dragons were created by R'hllor to protect mankind and help fight the Great Other. There is no way that mankind can survive a war against the Great Other without dragons to defend them. Again, I could go on a full rant about the dragons, just like Raymond did, but my video is long enough as it is. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you made it all the way to the end. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and please hit the like or subscribe button if you did. Everyone, please have a wonderful day.